everyone, my name's Chelsea, aka Sunsprint. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to the House of the Dragon official trailer. I'm super excited. I love Game of Thrones stuff. I just love it. So, even despite the unfortunate ending that was sped up too much and all of that good stuff, I'm just a sucker for George R.R. Martin's stories, and I love his worlds. I love how much detail and how dark and Shakespearean they are. So, without further ado, House of the Dragon official trailer. So excited. Uh-oh. Guess it helps if I turn the actual sound on, right? Alright. Let's see. Sorry. Unpause, unmute. Good grief. I'm a mess today. Here we go.
Is it for the dream is clearer than a memory.
Clearer than a memory.
I heard the sound of thundering hooves, splintering shields and ringing swords.
Oh wow.
And I placed my heir upon the Iron Throne. And all the dragons roared as one. I consider the matter urgent. That of your succession.
Yeah, I'll bet you do,
Who
Otto.
else would have a claim?
The firstborn child.
Brilliant, right? No queen has ever sat the Iron Throne.
The king has an heir, Daemon Targaryen. I will not be made to choose between my brother and my daughter.
Well, you kind of have to.
Rhaenyra's succession will be challenged. Knights will come.
Damn right they will. Oh, that's sick armor.
Your duty is to take a new wife.
I have decided to name a new heir. I'm your heir. War is afoot.
Do you think the realm will ever accept me as their queen?
A woman would not inherit the Iron Throne, because that is the order of things.
When I'm queen, I'll create a new order.
Your family has dragons.
Oh, this is so great.
Our men should never have trifled with.
Yep, that's right. Ooh. Ooh.
If Rhaenyra comes into power, she can cut off any challenge to her succession. I am to inherit the Iron Throne. She will block my way.
Yep, she will. She'll try.
Our hearts will never one. You can never imagine yourself on the Iron Throne. Where is duty? Where is sacrifice? How they see you as you are.
Oh, that is awesome. Ah. Okay, so something that I love, well, in addition to the entire thing, something I love about Thrones is it really does, and House of the Dragon, it does take itself seriously, at least in terms of setting a scene, making a narrative. And I know that Thrones, the last couple episodes sucked. The last season was really pretty bad. But this is a story that's complete. Like, in case you didn't know that, George R.R. Martin completed The Princess and the Queen, which is what this whole thing is based off of. It's a short story, sort of a novella, by George R.R. Martin, and he also fleshed out a lot of this in his book Fire and Blood, apparently, which I have not read. I did read Princess and the Queen, though. Right off the bat, you notice in this trailer that we've got the setup of the Targaryen civil war, or what will become their civil war. It's gonna get really crazy, especially that bit about Alicent Hightower. She's the brunette with the curlyish hair, who remarries the king right after he's already had his children and named his heir. She has sons with him, and it gets pretty crazy. Who's gonna inherit what? Everybody gets pissed off. It's very realistic, and that's the sad thing. Like, you can add all these dragons in, right? And I don't mean that it's sad that fantasy can be realistic. I mean that it's sad that people still are this way. Like, we may not have whole kingdoms to inherit as often as people that we see in these shows, but we all know somebody whose family went to absolute crap when a matriarch or patriarch died, and everybody rushes in to get whatever they can, like vultures, and people's decency just falls by the wayside, and they do whatever it takes to claim what they want. And that's what these people are doing. And so in that way, we can all relate to that. I'm sorry, it's sad, it's depressing, but we all know people for whom, it's important that they're the favorite. It's important that they get the most. It's important that they're whatever they did in their life was honored. Anyway, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's definitely related and very, very interesting. The dragons, the power struggles, all of that. It's very true to history. Basically take the dragons out of it, and these stories could belong anywhere in history. Very commonly played out Shakespearean themes and all that. Very dramatic, often very traumatic and depressing endings at times. And while we're on the subject of depressing endings, I'll address Game of Thrones ending for a second. I do think they should have spent more time. That's obvious. Way more time with the characters toward the end to explain to us what was happening and why the characters were making those decisions. However, the manner of the ending was very true to George R.R. Martin. He says now that he's writing Winds of Winter and he's going to go a different direction. Of course he is. Why would he go the same direction as the TV show when now he has that story's been told and he can tell a different one if he wants. But you can pretty well rest assured that tragedy is at the root of what Thrones is. It's an exploration of trauma, tragedy, intrigue, power, and ambition, and those are the best stories, some of the best stories humanity has ever told. The stories that sadly reflect ourselves and the ugly part of ourselves. And along those lines, I don't think the ending of Game of Thrones was as bad as people make it out to be. The speed was terrible. The events, you could easily see coming if you had been paying attention. I do have problems with some of it. I wasn't crazy about Bran becoming king with no explanation. I wasn't crazy about Jaime running back to Cersei, although I understand it. If he does that, now in the books things are set up differently, but if he does that in the show, in the next book, sorry, I will understand. Because he's like an addict, right? He's like an addict going back to someone who abuses him, who emotionally manipulates him, and for whom he's only ever loved Cersei, like, stupidly and without reason. But even given a taste of something wonderful, it may not be enough for him. It may not be enough Brienne and honor and all that, it may not be enough to take him away from that person who has controlled him since infancy, basically, who has manipulated him and wrapped her claws in him, and he may not be able to let Cersei die alone. As her twin, he might not be able to do that. And I hate that, but I understand it from a tragic perspective, that someone could choose a new world for themselves, a new path, but then fall right back into the old one. It happens all the time. And you guys can say, well, no it doesn't, and that's bullshit. People do it all the time. And I bet you know somebody who has, because I do. And I can't imagine I'm the only one. But anyway, things like that, the tragedy, it's going to be really on display in this series, and you can certainly tell. Another thing I'd like to say about this trailer, contrasting it with Rings of Power, and their trailer, is this has a lot more content. We can tell exactly what's going to happen in this series. Why are we watching this? What is the draw? What is the story? It's very, very clear. It's going to be intrigue. It's going to be backstabbing. There's going to be traitors and dragons and blood and people out for each other's throats and people pretending to be on each other's side and in each other's family, and a family that disintegrates. A dynasty that completely eats itself. That's why you're going to be watching. And the details look wonderful. The throne room has changed. There's a lot more swords than what was originally on the Iron Throne. True to George's vision. Everything looks scarily like what you would imagine if Daenerys was perhaps on the throne. The aesthetic of the dragons and the Targaryens and their silver hair and their appearance, their attitudes. Matt Smith already coming across with his character with that kind of, what do you mean I'm not the heir? I'm the heir. I'm a badass kind of vibe. Proud. Possibly arrogant, but definitely proud. And not liking the answer that he's hearing. The king, who's going to change his mind about who, it's not exactly what happens in the story. It kind of does, but not exactly. Anyway, it's pretty clear who the king's heir is in the short story. It's everyone else who kind of decides, nah, maybe we don't want to do that. A faction that breaks away and says, no, we're not going to play that. So far I love the lady they've cast, both of them, as Rhaenyra, but particularly the younger. She looks like she's dangerous and insane. And Rhaenyra was not insane. I think that's the girl they should have gotten to play Daenerys, because that look in her eyes is exactly what was required, to me, in my opinion. The look of, I will eviscerate you. I will kill you, and I don't really care. I'll pretend to care when I need to, but other than that, I don't actually care. And perhaps casting someone like that as Daenerys gives too much away, right? But I look at her and I go, oh god, yeah. Don't F with Rhaenyra. As soon as I saw her, I thought, man, she would have made a great Daenerys. Not that Emilia Clarke wasn't great, but Emilia Clarke was clearly cast for the shock value, right? The shock value of seeing someone like that turn into a monster in the end, which they didn't pull off because they didn't give enough time, enough foreshadowing, they gave a lot of foreshadowing, but enough development to make you believe that that's how she would go. not just for plot reasons, but because she really has a reason to snap. And that's just a product of not spending enough time with her emotionally. Anyway, back to this trailer. Sorry, I get sidetracked on Daenerys really easily. But the Targaryens have a rich history, and it's obvious they're taking it seriously. And I just can't wait. This looks fantastic. I even caught a little snippet where it looks like, I can't tell if he's cutting himself, he's touching the throne. And I can't tell if he's cut himself or not. But the throne famously cuts people who should not be in power, who shouldn't be king, or at least that's the legend, right? If it cuts you and you bleed, you're not meant for that chair, that position. Anyway, that's my reaction to the official trailer for House of the Dragon, and I am pumped. Woo! More on that later. See you guys another time. Bye!